So this video, I've been wanting to do this for a while. And I wanted to talk about the pros and the cons of AEW and WWE. And talk about where they're going wrong. What I think as a fan needs to be improved better. Now, I'm not booking shit. I don't do all these what would happen if whatever. I'm not a booker because I understand that I came to an audience of one and that would be my vision. And not everybody would want to hear what I want to say about booking. And I'm not going to book anything. But I want to talk about the pros and cons, no pun intended, of AEW and WWE and what I don't and do like. So let's start with WWE. And the obvious one is that for years and years, I've hated this whole thing is that when they have Vince McMahon controlling creative, because whatever goes through Vince McMahon, if it's a storyline or if it's an angle or a push, it instantly goes through, and if Vince doesn't like it, it gets shut down. You look at prime example of the Nexus in 2010, you look at John Morrison's push in to 2010, 2011, you look at Karrion Kross more recently, Keith Lee. That is the big problem with the WWE, is that a lot of people rely on Vince for his input, and Vince is not going to be there long term. So putting everything through Vince is not going to help your business long term. Yes, it's good for a short term that you're having people like your Goldbergs, Brock Lesnar's, Takers, or whoever going for these titles, but for the long term, that's hurting your product, because when Goldberg retires, when Brock retires, when all these guys retire, who are the stars you've actually built up? Who was the last big megastar you built up, apart from Roman Reigns, recently that you built up truly to become a top guy? Like, you look on that roster, Damian Priest, I'm a fan of Damian Priest, but he's not proven at the main event level. You look how the botched job they've done with Big E and Broadcast Baron Corbin. Broadcast Baron Corbin could have won the Rumble a couple weeks ago. He could have won the Rumble as Broadcast Baron Corbin. He could have had the thing where you have him, he's in a really bad way, and like he's going through, like, we have vignettes of him being in homeless shelters, and he's going through a divorce, and he's trying to find child support, and then he finally gets, like, each pay-per-view he gets a big payday, and he's like, oh, I win the Rumble, and then he gets a huge ovation, and then he goes and faces Roman Reigns. You built this guy up to have him face main event caliber wrestlers like your Edges, Seth Rollins, AJ Styles, and then he goes to Roman Reigns, and then he has like a he gets the big prize, which is obviously the WWE Universal title. Now that would have been a good story, but typical WWE, Vince is like, God damn it, I want Happy Corbin, because what's better than Happy Corbin? God damn it, I love Happy Corbin. So, yeah, Vince ruined that. And then we had the Big E push, and I was looking at the reports that Big E's angry at backstage because he was moved to SmackDown, and I'm like, I could see this coming, because like this title reign of Big E's, what he had recently, was just so they could try to pop rating during the Monday Night Football, because football season was on, because that's all the card they ever pull is like, when Raw's down, it's because of football season, it's because of the NFL. What are you going to say because now football season is finished? What are you going to say now that the NFL is season? The NBA season, like, what are you going to say now you got the NBA? What are you going to say when you got beat by a Big Bang Theory rerun or whatever? Stop making excuses for your products. And the one other thing is that these fans that say that Vince is the problem are actually cheering Vince's name in the arena. They're going to his shows. They're actually buying his merch. You're buying Vince's merch, and he's laughing at you as a fan, because he's like, God damn, you're buying the video games, you're buying that. I've got the money. Like, he's laughing at all you fans for buying that. Yeah, you the same fans that would actually cheer for Vince McMahon. You're the root of the cause. You're the reason why this man is in the way it is. And then after that, it goes down to Nick Khan, and then Kevin Dunn, and then it goes to Bruce Pritchard, and all the rest of these clowns that are part of this head office. And then you go to NXT, which is another problem that I have, is you look at all the time that Triple H had in NXT, developing these guys and girls, the investment he had with so many good, promising stars, instantly goes to the main roster. It's like, what the hell is this? What is it? He doesn't get what it is, and that's the big problem. Is everything's got to go through Vince, and if Vince doesn't see it or doesn't like the vision of it, he's going to pull the plug on it. Prime example is going to be Karrion Kross. The great thing was about Karrion Kross that he had the girl, he had the entrance, he had the character. And you look at it on NXT, like you can see this against Roman Reigns or Karrion Kross versus whoever. It was a main event, main roster caliber character. Goes to the main roster, and Vince is like, you don't listen to Jeff Hardy, the guy that hasn't done anything in a year, apart from being on Austin's podcast and get released. And then we have Keith Lee. Bearcat Keith Lee. We're going to change Keith Lee's character from just being Keith Lee to Bearcat Keith Lee. Instead of actually doing a better job at promoting and actually explaining to the casual audience who is Keith Lee and what makes Keith Lee special. He's a big guy that can make you a lot of money. He's got a lot of potential. He had a lot of potential in WWE, but again, it goes down to Vince McMahon. You look at what happened with the reports of Adam Cole, maybe changing his name and cutting his hair. Was it needed, Vince? It's all about things that, a lot of things in this company don't make sense, are just random, they are just spur of the moment. Sometimes they don't fucking work. They have even Marie come back recently and have her with Doudrop. They could have made her like a big deal as one of the best heels in the business. One of the best heels in the women's division, should I say. And then they had her released. I don't get it. And then you keep pushing the same stars, like Charlotte's getting a push. You have this New Day gimmick that's been here for like 7 years. You got Brock Lesnar and all these other part-times because you're thinking of the short term of things and not long term. So people say, oh, will WWE get better when Triple H is taking over? Will Triple H take over? I mean, Triple H did great things in NXT, but that was to a smaller audience. Will that translate good to a big roster? Because when it was on TV, it got about 6,000, 5,000 viewers on TV. Is that going to translate well on the main roster without Vince? Now, people saying, will Disney take over, but will they do a good job? Because the longer Vince stays and he's the head of creative like he is now, this place, WWE, is not the place to be. Go to GFW or, not GFW, GCW or whoever, and make yourself a star, because look what he's doing with his so-called roster he has, released about 150 of these guys and girls, and then he just wants to have Brock Lesnar, Ronda Rousey, and then we're gonna have Charlotte having another title reign. Becky's in the title, is still the women's champion. You could have had Liv Morgan pull the trigger and have her win the women's title back at day one, but you never did. Yeah. And for AEW, a couple of things that I know about them is that a lot of things what they have is they need to focus more on telling stories on their wrestlers as well. Like the background of some of their wrestlers, they need to do a lot of intel and a lot of background, because you look at someone like Jade Cargill, they never talk about her being a bodybuilder and shit like that. Like they talk about it they just do whatever comment about it, but they never explain what makes about their background. It's like Sheeta and all these other guys and girls they have on the roster. What makes them special that has them on TV? Like a Sheeta, like a Brian Pillman Jr., like a whoever. They need a story. You need to have a good background. Your announcers should be actually saying that, how good they actually are, instead of saying, well, there's got on the independence. Not the independence is different from primetime TV. You're on TV now. Forget about the independence. You're on TV. The TV audience are not going to go on YouTube and watch independent matches and understand the characters. They want to know what's going on now. So as announcers, especially as you, Tony Khan, because you're doing all the creative, you should do a better job of explaining these characters and getting these characters over better. Like, what makes Sheeta so special that she has TV time? Like, some of these guys and girls need a year or 6 months in TNA because you have that partnership with TNA, and they need to just learn to be on TV on a lower scale. And then when they found a character and they've got help from like a writer, because you have no writers in AEW, then you can bring them back to TV if they're good enough. Because I look at someone like a Brian Pillman, and he's such a good, talented star that he's just missing that it factor, that character. He needs that character, and he needs the mic skills to help him, and then I think he can be a big star. Other things about AEW is that start thinking about getting 2 million viewers. You've been on TV for 2 years now. You're on TBS, so you have no NBA playoffs. You don't have to switch nights. I know you have the hockey season and stuff, but you have TBS. You should be getting 2 million viewers this year as well. Get more casual viewers in, because let's face it, a lot of AEW has a lot of male-driven audience. Focus on more of your different demographics. Stop going so hard on your 18 to 40 annual demographics. That's great, but you've had that audience from All In. Like, grow your audience from past All In, and get your casual fans in, and get your females to the 12 to 34-year-old demographic up more. And then actually sell merch. Like, another thing I don't like about AEW is that these wrestlers have these t-shirts, but they never wear them to the ring. Like, it's about making more money, but these wrestlers don't want to wear their merch down to the ring. I don't get it. And not every match, this is my last point on this, not every wrestler has to have a 50-50 match to make themselves look good, because not everybody needs a 50-50 match. Like, we've had this since day one. I don't want to see CM Punk versus QT Marshall going 10-50 minutes. QT Marshall and Shawn Spears are nobodies. CM Punk should be just doing this shit and getting the hell out of there. Stop thinking about purely geeking up for Meltzer, because it's not all about matches and moves that actually make a show great. It's about the characters and the storylines. And if Shawn Spears and QT Marshall should not be getting offense on CM Punk. And another thing is that the reputation of the black wrestlers, like every single black wrestler is a heel, apart from Jay Lethal and Red Velvet. And what have they done? Like, since they come into AEW, like, Red Velvet has been on Dark. Jay Lethal had that one time match with Sammy Guevara, and then now it's on Elevation Dark. Like, this is Jay Lethal. He's one of the best talkers you have on your roster, and you have him on Dark. So this was a video. I thought about this a couple of days ago. This is my pros and cons of AEW and WWE. Leave your thoughts in the comments on these topics I said. Any of these or any of your own in the comments.